Hey guys, welcome back to Solid Gold. This is Jenny and I'm here with another new video for you today. And this is going to be another one in my What Pet Stores Don't Tell You mini series of videos. Last time we talked about cycling your tank and how pet stores don't always relay that information to you. This week we're going to be talking about water changes. So especially for goldfish, this is a huge area where pet store employees are just lacking in the knowledge and the advice they give to people. Not always, of course. I don't want to make it sound like every pet store or every pet store employee is, doing things totally wrong. I myself used to be a pet store employee and I would get a little upset when people criticize pet store employees. So I totally understand, but I do think it's a widespread problem that the correct information is not always getting out there. So I just want to clear up as much of that as I can. So the reason why water changes are so important, as you guys learned in my previous video about cycling the tank, the cycle, what it does is it removes toxins from the aquarium that the fish create. So ammonia and later nitrite, and then the end product is nitrate. The cycle usually doesn't do anything to remove nitrate, so it is your job to do that via water changes. So if you don't change the water regularly, the nitrate is just going to continue to build up and build up and build up. And that's not good for your fish because it can lead to swim bladder problems and other problems as well, just general poor health, floatiness, things like that. So it's definitely important to do your water changes and to test your water and make sure everything is looking good. And if it's not, to do a water change. There's also some thought that there is some substance that fish secrete that inhibits their growth. And I don't want to state this as blanket fact because I don't think it's been established as a fact yet. But there's some thought that fish can excrete a substance that inhibits their growth. So that's another reason why water changes are often advocated, and large, frequent water changes at that. For goldfish, you can change up to 90 to even 100% of the water every week if you want to. That's what I personally do in my tanks and my tubs. And my fish are healthy, and I just feel like fresh, clean water is the best way to keep your fish healthy. It's the best preventative care that you can give them. And with fish, you always want to aim for preventative care because it's way easier to prevent a problem than it is to address a problem with fish. So with water changes, I feel like a lot of times pet store employees tell you that you don't have to do them very regularly. I think the main message is you just have to do water changes about once a month. And some stores will even tell you that all you have to do is top off the aquarium when it gets low, when it evaporates. Other stores will tell you you can only do 25% water change at a time. Any more than that will harm or kill your fish. And they recommend only doing about 20 to 25% once a month. And so that is very inefficient for goldfish. Goldfish are very different than most of your tropical community species that you find in a pet store. And admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about other species of fish other than goldfish, but the same basic concept should prevail throughout all types of fish. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about 100% water changes. A lot of people think that it will stall your cycle or crash your cycle, but that is it's just false because the beneficial bacteria that are the cycle of your aquarium do not exist in the water column itself. They exist on surfaces in your tank, and that's what your filter is for, and the filter media in your filter more specifically. So the filter media is going to be providing that surface area for the beneficial bacteria to grow on. So if you change all the water, you're not taking out any of the beneficial bacteria because they're all stuck onto the surface. And the other misconception I feel pet store employees kind of feed into is that doing a huge water change like that will shock your fish and kill them because of the changing water conditions. So there's a very small kernel of truth to that I feel like has been kind of misinterpreted. So the small kernel of truth is that if you go by pet store recommendations of doing just 20% water changes every month, and then you suddenly switch when you find out proper information, you suddenly switch to doing 100% water changes every week, that could be detrimental to your fish. Only because if you only do 20% water changes every month, you are not removing enough nitrate, and the nitrate will just continue to build up and build up and build up. If it builds up gradually enough, the fish tend to get accustomed to it. It's still not ideal and it can lead to swim bladder issues and other problems, but they do get sort of accustomed to it. And then if you go from like 100 ppm nitrate to 0 because you did a 100% water change, that can definitely shock them and possibly cause death. So that is the tiny kernel of truth embedded in this misconception. But the main point is, if you have been doing large water changes regularly all along, there is no worry there. Because when you do those large water changes, it prevents the nitrate from ever building up to those extremely high levels. Same with ammonia and nitrite. They'll never be able to build up to, 50 or 100 ppm because you're always doing those large water changes. The main things you want to watch out for is to make sure that pH is matched as closely as possible. If it's within 0.2, then it's close enough typically, but you want to make sure it's as close as possible for sure. Also, you want to make sure that temperature is matched anytime you're doing the water change, especially if it's a large water change. If you had been doing, just 20% water changes every month, or maybe just topping it off when it gets low, and you want to switch to doing larger water changes, you can certainly do that without shocking your fish. You would just want to make the transition a little bit more gradual. So you would start by doing your normal 20% water change, then you would wait just a couple of days, do another 20%, and gradually build up to changing more and more water, over the span of a couple weeks or so, to gradually get the fish used to a lower nitrate level. And then, once they're used to a lower nitrate level, you can just start doing the large water changes every week. And it might sound like a whole lot of work to do like a 50 to 90% water change every week, but there are things that make it way easier. So if you haven't heard of it already, there's a tool aquarium water changer called the Python, and there are other brands also, but the Python is the one that I use, and it just attaches right to your faucet, like your kitchen sink or something like that. And when you turn it on, it creates a suction, and then it's like a tube. So you run the other end of your tube into your aquarium, and you can just do an automatic water change that way. You can also fill it up the same way, just by flipping the valve and then filling the tank up. So it makes it way easier, way less time consuming than trying to carry buckets of water back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to do a water change on your 55 or 75 gallon tank. And it's really important to keep in mind that with every water change, you definitely want to add a dechlorinator. Even if you live out in the country and you have like well water, it's still a good idea to use a dechlorinator, especially one that also detoxifies heavy metals, because heavy metals can still be in your well water. So thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I hope this video was helpful for you. Feel free to like it, leave a comment below, maybe requesting future What Pet Stores Don't Tell You topics, and feel free to share it. There's a share button below that you can share it on Facebook or Twitter, wherever you want. That's totally cool with me. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. And don't forget, I still have calendars for sale on my Cafe Press page. I've already had several people buy one, so thank you guys so much. And they are still on sale on my Cafe Press page, and I will put a link to that in the description section below if you want to check that out. And I will see you guys next week. Bye!